2023. Please rise as we're led in Pledge of Allegiance by Legislator Jan Burdick.
Please join me, please.
Please remain upstanding as we're led in invocation by Legislator Gretchen Hanchett.
Father, as we approach the holiday season and look forward to the fast approaching New Year, let us take a few minutes to reflect on the year. Let us reflect with gratitude on all that we have been given in life, our family, our friends, and the honor to serve our communities in Allegheny County. Let us reflect with the sadness on the recent terrorist events that have put so many people in peril. Let us reflect with gladness on all that is good and beautiful and kind in our world. Let us reflect with hope on the transformational times in which we live, filled with innovation, advancements, and endless possibilities. And as we make these reflections, let us pray for peace. Let us pray for health and happiness. Let us pray for support in our mission to help make Allegheny County a great place to work, play, and live. And finally, let us look forward to the new year with a renewed sense of purpose and hope, whether our impact is to be big or small, affecting many and affecting one. Let us use our time, talents, and treasures to make a difference in the world and the communities we serve. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you both. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barnes.
Present.
Mrs. Burdick. Here. Mr. Curran. Mr. Sear. Mr. Demick.
Here.
Mr. Fanton.
Here.
Mrs. Hanchett.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Havey.
Here.
Mr. Healy.
Here.
Mr. Ricky.
Here.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Here.
Mrs. Root. Here. Mr. Rumfelt.
Here.
Mr. Stockin.
Here.
13 present, 2 absent.
Thank you.
You were provided a copy of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of November 15th. At this time, we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion made by Legislator Rumfelt, seconded by Legislator Fanton. Additions, corrections? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They're approved.
You were provided a copy of the board meeting minutes of November 22nd, and we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion made by Legislator Hanchett, seconded by Legislator Ricky. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
You were provided a copy of the meeting minutes from the public hearing on the 2024 tentative budget held on November 30th, and we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion's made by Legislator Havey, seconded by Legislator Barnes. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Approved.
You were also provided a copy of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of December 6th, and we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion's made by Legislator Root, seconded by Legislator Burdick. Additions or corrections? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those are approved. At this time, we will suspend the regular meeting and open a public hearing. This is the second public hearing to discuss outcomes of Allegheny County's CDBG grant-funded post-COVID recovery small business support program. If there are any members of the public that wish to address the board this afternoon concerning this local law, concerning this this grant program, please step up to the podium, state your name and town of residence, and the board would be happy to hear your comments or concerns. Seeing none, we will conclude that public hearing, and we will open a public hearing for local law providing for additional and related duties of the elected coroners of the County of Allegheny. Are there any members of the public that wish to address the board at this time? Sir, if you could step up to the podium, please. You got to press the button on your right there to make the red light turn on. That's great. And if you'd be willing to give us your name and town of residence, welcome.
My name is Dylan Faust. Town residence is Sayo.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, I am Dylan Faust. I'm one of your 4 elected county coroners. I'm here today to ask you to vote no for the new coroner law. There are many flaws within this law, and there are far more pressing issues that need to be addressed in this county than to worry about this. The major flaw in this law is the rotation schedule. If one of us respond to a call 40 minutes away from us in the morning, and later that day the same coroner has a death where a coroner is needed just 5 minutes away, that coroner cannot respond. This is going to tie up first responders for up to an hour, while many other calls are happening in the county where they are needed. A coroner should be called on for who is the closest to the call. There is no reason for someone to drive to Cuba if Mr. Rinker is available, or to Fillmore if Mr. Williams is available. The other issue with the rotation is that we have 2 county coroners who are full-time bus drivers, and county dispatch knows this. The law states that dispatch will have to call each coroner down the list until one will respond. This is time-consuming for dispatch. I am sure they do not want to try calling the 2 that are tied up driving bus just to be told no. All calls are routed through county dispatch already. They know who can respond and at what times. The coroner's position is not always a glorious job. We are dealing with some of the worst situations at times. In tragic situations, the last thing these families are worrying about is what funeral home their loved one is going to. As a coroner, we must run our offices with compassion and professionalism. The problem with that, it's not happening across the board. You all represent Allegheny County. We represent Allegheny County. And we should be doing that professionally. Passing this law is going to limit that. I wish we could sit down and talk about the changes that need to be made. We could work on this together. We know how the job is and how it should be handled. There are some minor issues with how the coroner business is handled. From only one of us having a mortuary cooler to hold bodies legally after the time of death, to coroners soliciting their funeral homes. The major issue we have is not going to be solved by law. I ask you again, vote no, and let's take a serious look at this again. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further public comments on this proposed local law? If not, we will conclude the public hearing regarding the local law and resume our regular meeting. Okay, this is the time of year we as a board get the chance to recognize our longest-serving employees, and we're thankful to be able to do that again today. Today we are recognizing and honoring 5 employees with either 30 or 35-year service milestones, and it's just a privilege for me to be able to, on behalf of the board, thank you publicly and genuinely for all the work you've done for the county, for the people of Allegheny County. And we're going to start at the 35-year. We have 3 35-year employees this year. James Cummings. James? Okay. Jim was initially hired by the county as a seasonal laborer in the summer of 1988 for the Department of Public Works. He was then appointed as a permanent laborer in the fall of 1988. He then went on to the title of motor equipment operator in October of 1991, a title he held until January of 2008. Jim was then appointed as a heavy motor equipment operator 1 in February 2008. That title he held until his appointment to heavy motor equipment operator 2 in December of 2022. He remains in this title today for the Department of Public Works. Emmett Taylor? Come on. I'm sorry. Welcome. problem with being first is you have to stay up for the whole thing. We've got like 4 more, so you'll have misery right alongside you here in a second. But all right, Emmett was initially hired by the county as a seasonal laborer, a position he held for a couple of summers in 1986 to 88, not 18, when he was hired permanently as labor, even if it feels like it, right? For the Department of Public Works in August of 1988. He then was appointed to the title of Transfer Station Operator in October of 1988 for the Department of Public Works, a title he still holds today. So you guys stick at the same transfer station or you rotate? Or
Sometimes I'm rotated around.
what's your main transfer
My
station?
main one is Station 3, the one between Kilburn and Crenshaw.
Okay. The one I've never been to. I'm going to hand these out as we go. Please join me in thanking Emmett for all of his work for Allegheny County. I'm going to give you a standing
Let's hope so.
All right, the paper says that this is the right nickname, but if it's not, I apologize. Boomer Clark? Not here? Okay, is that his nickname? Okay, good. All right, Charles Boomer started with the county as a seasonal laborer in the summer of 1987 for the Department of Public Works. He was hired permanently in that same title in May of 1988. He went on to the title of Motor Equipment Operator in June of 1989, a title he held until his appointment as Heavy Motor Equipment Operator 2 in September of 1995. He then went to Heavy Motor Equipment Operator 1 of March of 2004, a title he still holds today for the Department of Public Works. So congratulations to him. Stella Young. Stella is a 30-year recognition recipient this year. She started with the county as a data entry machine operator for the Department of Social Services as a temporary employee in October of 1993. That position turned to a permanent position early the next year, and she remained in that title until she went to the senior typist title in October of 94, still for the Department of Public Social Services. She remained in that title, serving social services until her retirement late November of this year. Thank you and congratulations. Kimberly Demick. Kim started with the county as a data entry machine operator for the Department of, okay, so we don't have that title anymore, right? Terry will know. When did we eliminate that title? When we went away from typewriters and went to word processors or something?
There's a few assistant typewriters.
Yeah. Kim started as a data entry machine operator in November of 1992. She worked seasonally in that title for a couple years prior to being appointed to the same title in December of 93. She then went to the title of typist for social services in July of 1994, still serving as the data entry machine operator seasonally throughout the winter of 1996. In March of 97, she was appointed to the title of Senior Typist for Social Services and then moved to Social Welfare Examiner in June of 1998, a title she held until June of 2009, when she was appointed to the title of Senior Social Welfare Examiner. In May of 2016, Kim was appointed to the title of Senior Case Manager, a title that she still holds today for social services. When you read these, you realize what we kind of already know, because we as a board, we get requests from department heads to fill vacant positions all the time. And it seems as though the best candidates for any position we have available are in-house. And that's really a testament to the workforce as a whole. And so with all those moves and all those promotions and all that, it's a testament also to you and your commitment to the county. So please join me in thanking and congratulating Kim. I'm going to pull this out of the way.
Squeeze in there, guys.
While the ladies get set back up here, I was talking to Tim Boyd today, like private sector, public sector. So public sector, you get a framed certificate for working 35 years, and we apologize for that. Because I think in the private sector, you get a Rolex or something. And, if we could, we would.
I don't think that's true anymore. Can roll the decks, get the one off your desk and take that. And they're outdated too. I got look on
Anything on our desks?
Yes, on your desk is a report of the interfund transfers and tax bill corrections approved by the county administrator in November. We received correspondence from Tobacco-Free CCA's Community Engagement Coordinator, Ken Dahlgren, regarding successful tobacco-free policy implementation. On November 28th, the New York State Board on Electric Generation Siting and the Environment issued the following relative to an application of Alley-Cat Wind Energy for Certificate of Environmental Compatibility and Public Need pursuant to Article 10 for a proposed wind energy project. Order granting petition in part, subject to conditions. Order approving amendment, subject to conditions. And order granting law waivers. We received correspondence from the Allegheny County Historical Society inviting legislators to attend Legislators' Day and tour the museum in Andover. That event is this afternoon. We received correspondence from Impact Friends Group inviting legislators to participate in the first day hike at the Phillips Creek Trailhead on January 1st from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Leadership Allegheny announced that their financial presentations and graduations will be held at the Palmer Opera House in Cuba on Thursday, January 25th from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Resolutions?
Resolution intro number 42223. Adoption of local law intro number 2 of 2023, print number 1, a local law providing for additional and related duties of the elected coroners in the county of Allegheny. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Haddonchit. Discussion? Mr. Healy?
Yes, I move to table this resolution.
Motion to table, seconded by legislator Rumfeld. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Tabled.
Resolution intro number 42323. Resolution recognizing and thanking William A. Nichols for his extraordinary contributions to the betterment of Allegheny County. This resolution is being offered by all legislators.
Is there a motion? Motion made by legislator Fanton, seconded by legislator Stockin. At this time, for discussion, Mr. Nichols, would you be willing to join us at the front of the room, please? We already asked his lovely wife Donna if she would join, and she said she declined. Actually, she said he's on his own.
Where's the Rolex?
Okay, poor Bill is in for it because he kind of did this to himself. This is going to be a long bit of discussion because what Bill has done over the course of his life for the Belfast and for the people of Allegheny County, it's unbelievable. And, you know, I always say, you know, you try to fit it into one page and sometimes you can't. We barely fit this into a two-page resolution. And Brenda would kill us, I think, if we had to buy one of those three-page resolution frames, it would blow the budget. So Bill is a 1965 graduate of Belfast Central School. He was a 1967 graduate of Monroe Community College. He was hired as a motor equipment operator for the town of Belfast Highway Department in 1968. Served as deputy highway superintendent until he assumed the role of acting highway superintendent in July of '76. Was officially appointed superintendent of April 1977, subsequently elected that position in November of the same year. He's a former president of the Allegheny County Highway Superintendents Association, which isn't a great honor because I think Fred Demick even was the president of that association at one point. I mean, you probably did a better job, but. He has assumed numerous leadership roles within the New York State Highway Superintendents Association, including election to the Executive Committee in 1980. He served as president of the State Association in 1990 and as executive secretary and treasurer from 2002 to 2006. And he served also with the Cornell Level Roads Program Advisory Committee from 1999 to 2006. In 1982, he was appointed by the New York State Department of Transportation and its Commissioner, William Hennessy, to serve on the Consolidated Local Street and Highway Improvement Program, which we all know as CHIPS. And he was instrumental in the work of that committee, which developed and implemented the guidelines for the CHIPS program that, you know, is still a lifesaver for towns, villages, and counties today. In 1992, he was elected to the Executive Committee of the New York State Association of Towns. He served as president of that association from 1999 to 2000, and on the Emergency Services Task Force, and on the association's Resolutions Committee from 1998 to 2014. He served for 50 years on the Belfast Fire Department, wherein he served 4 years as assistant chief, 2 years as fire chief, and 10 years as fire commissioner of the Belfast Fire District. He's a member of the Belfast Lions Club from 2002 to present, and he has held various and important leadership positions among that group. He was appointed by Governor George Pataki to the New York State Emergency Services Revolving Loan Fund Board of Directors, which provides low-interest loans to local governments for the purchase of equipment, vehicles, buildings, etc. And he served on that post for 9 years. He was a charter member of the Belfast Rescue Squad back in 1967, and through that affiliation was a member of the inaugural EMT class in Allegheny County. He was a certified EMT and advanced EMT for 45 years and worked as a certified EMT lab instructor for 20 years. Almost done. He's a 2012 inductee into the Allegheny County Sports Hall of Fame. What you didn't say was for what sport, or was it multiple sports?
Well, actually, I wasn't, I was a high school athlete, but I wasn't really that good. I kept I was a score clock keeper and score bookkeeper and timekeeper for Belfast for 20 plus years. And that's, got to know Mr. Stocking is in that capacity, so that's why I was elected to the Hall of Fame.
There's lots of scorekeepers out there, but the only ones that make it in the Hall of Fame are the ones that ensure their team always wins. Bill is a devoted and loving husband to his wife Donna and father to daughter Ashley. Now, with that being said, are there any other comments for discussion regarding this resolution? If not, we'll call it to a vote. All those in favor of passing this resolution say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the resolution is carried. Congratulations and thank you for all you've done for Allegheny County.
Thank you.
So we have, along with Don, we have a lot of friends and maybe other family. Are you guys all willing, supporters, to come up here and get your picture taken with Bill? Anybody that's here supporting? Donna? You said you would. Any fellow Public Works people? We'd love to get big pictures with lots of people.
Fred, get in there. Fred, get in there.
You guys all look a little bit older than when I first met you. Except Tom and Bill, they still look pretty young.
Yeah, fix his. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You can hold it.
I would just like to say that I'm terribly honored and humbled by this resolution. When I went to work for the town of Belfast Highway Department in '68, it was for a summer job, and I stayed there for 50 years. And I met a lot of people, made a lot of friends, and I appreciate the support I have from members of our county association that are here to support me today. Donnie, Guy, the rest of the guys back there. So, again, thank you very much.
Supporting you holding this damn mic.
And Fred is supporting me, and he told me I couldn't talk very long. So, again, thank you so much.
Further resolutions?
Resolution intro number 42423, creation of one full-time junior accountant position within the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by Legislator Burdick, seconded by Legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld? Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 42523, creation of one full-time quality coordinator position within the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
So moved by Legislator Burdick, seconded by Legislator Ricketts Swales. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
That's approved.
Resolution intro number 42623. Creation of one full-time public health technician position within the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 42723, designation of official newspapers for the publication of local laws, notices, and other matters required by law to be published in 2024. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion is made by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Root. Discussion? This resolution can be voice voted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved.
Resolution intro number 42823, setting the date, time, and place of the 2024 organization meeting. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Root. Discussion? This resolution can also be voice voted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried.
Resolution intro number 42923, approval of budget modification within the Employment and Training Center. This resolution is being offered by the Planning and Economic Development and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Root, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett, Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 43023, acceptance and appropriation of donation funds received by the County of Allegheny through its Office for the Aging to support Meals on Wheels services. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett, Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 43123, acceptance of public health infrastructure grant and approval of 2024 budget modification for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Legislator Burdick makes the motion, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld, Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 43223, acceptance of lead hazard reduction capacity building grant and approval of 2024 budget modification for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Wales. Discussion?
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Harris.
Legislator Burdick?
I'd just like to say the last two resolutions through the Health Department equal over $1 million in grant money received. And I'd just like to thank those in the Department of Health that applied for the grants and also received them. So thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved. Can you pause 1 second? Which one? So we need a motion to consider a resolution out of order.
It's a 2/3 vote, too.
They're questioning why we're passing these amendment budget modifications prior to the adoption of the budget. Is that normal or not?
Yeah, we usually do them before.
Okay, so, question about order of operations here is what's going on. But at this point, what we need to do is we need a motion to take Resolution 43323, adoption of 2024 county final budget, out of order. Would anyone care to make that motion? Thank you. Motion made by legislator Rumfeld, seconded by legislator Havy. We need a 2/3 majority on this. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that's carried. And if you would introduce that, please. Or can I just go?
Acceptance and appropriation of Western New York Regional Economic Development Council, Empire State Development Strategic Planning and Feasibility Studies Program Grant for the Office of Planning, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement, approval of 2024 budget modification, and appropriation of match of $100,000 from ARPA funds.
Okay, that was the proper resolution that was read. I misread the requesting the motion to take it out of order. So was,
This is the one that was out of
this is the
order.
one we need out of order. So, Mr. Rumfeld, okay with you? And who was the second? Was it you, Mr. Havy? Okay, so disregard the adoption of the budget. Okay, that was my mistake. So as she read, and I'll read it again so we're all on the same page, what we're considering here is Resolution 443 of 23, acceptance and appropriation of Western New York Regional Economic Development Council, or RDC, Empire State Development Strategic Planning and Feasibility Studies Program Grant for the Office of Planning, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute the agreement, approval of 24 budget modification and appropriation of a match of $100,000 from ARPA funds. Now, is this pre-filed or no?
No, it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
Okay, so we need a motion to consider. Okay, and that's made by legislator Root and seconded by legislator Fanton. All those in favor of considering the resolution, say aye. Opposed? Okay, that's approved. And on the resolution itself, do we have a motion?
Well,
A motion by legislator Root. Is there a second? Thank you, legislator Hanchett. And discussion. Mr. Healy.
is there still some discussion? Is this all we got in right order now? Do we? everything, the right number? and everything?
What we're doing right now, Mr. Healy, is taking Resolution 443 of 23 out of order. All other resolutions are in the proper order as indicated in the agenda.
All right, thank you.
Good? Further discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stacken? Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett? Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution is approved. Okay, here we go, 433? Okay, it's all yours.
Resolution intro number 43323, adoption of 2024 county final budget. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Root. Any discussion? If not, I would just like to thank our budget officer, deputy budget officer, all of our department heads, all of our employees, in fact, anybody that, that put any work into, and there's significant work into the preparation of this budget. It's a good budget. We should be proud to vote in favor of it. It equally represents the needs of the county with the concerns of our taxpayers. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to vote in favor of this budget. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
No.
Mr. Stacken?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
12 ayes, 1 no, 2 absent.
Resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 43423, approval of the final assessment rolls with taxes extended thereon, authorizing and directing the preparation and execution of tax warrants and causing the delivery of tax rolls to collecting officers. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Root. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 43523, levying taxes and assessments required for purposes of annual budgets of the towns of Allegheny County. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion made by legislator Root, seconded by legislator Stockin. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havey?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 43623, resolution making appropriations for the conduct of the county government for fiscal year 2024. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Root. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld? Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 43723, approval of renewal of intermunicipal agreement between the County of Allegheny and Monroe County for medical legal death investigation services and forensic pathology services through the Monroe County Medical Examiner's Office, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick. Is there a second? Seconded by legislator Healy. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 43823. Approval of renewal of agreement between the County of Allegheny and NMS Labs for forensic laboratory services, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 43923, approval of renewal of agreement between the County of Allegheny and the New York State Department of Health for the Early Intervention Administration Grant, period number 3, for the Department of Health, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 44023. Approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and Lamar for billboard services for the Adolescent Tobacco Use Prevention Act Public Outreach Campaign for the Department of Health, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services Committee and has committee approval.
Motion made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld, Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
12 ayes, 1 absent. 12 ayes, 1 no, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 44123, approval of agreement between the County of Allegheny and First Transit, a trans-dev company, to manage, operate, and maintain public transportation services in Allegheny County, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's made by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Root. Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 44223, appropriation of funding from the American Rescue Plan Act funds to cover a retention bonus for county employees who worked part-time in 2022. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval. It was not pre-filed and it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
On the 2/3, the motion is made by legislator Rumfeld, seconded by legislator Hanchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is approved. And on the resolution itself, the motion is made by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Root. Discussion? Legislator Burdick.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I just would like to thank everyone that was involved in finally making this happen, and I hope our part-time employees appreciate this as much as I appreciated getting this through for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution is approved.
Resolution intro number 44423. Award of bid and approval of agreement with Hart InterCivic Incorporated for the purchase of 40 new voting machines for the Board of Elections, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said agreement. Creation of a capital fund project account for Hart InterCivic Incorporated for the purchase of 40 new voting machines. Transfer of funding from the American Rescue Plan Act funds to the capital fund project account number H1450. This resolution is being offered by the Personnel and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval. It was not pre-filed and it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
On the 2/3, the motion is made by legislator Ricky, seconded by legislator Hanchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. And on the resolution itself, the motion is made by legislator Rumfeld, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? On behalf of Elections Commissioners Brent Reynolds and Mike McCormick, I've been asked to publicly, this is the only time I'm ever going to do this, thank Legislator Fred Demick for the work he did in preparing the bid specs for this RFP. I think we were struggling with that. And so it took a little bit of time, but Fred and his long experience preparing RFPs, I think really came in and did a great job for the election, the Board of Elections, and I think maybe even saved the county a little bit of money in the process. So I want to thank you, Fred. I actually do want to thank you, and it may be not the last time. There it is, the first, but it may not be the last. Further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stockin?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution is approved.
Resolution, intro number 44523, resolution levying county taxes. This resolution is being offered by the Ways and Means Committee and has committee approval.
Motion's
It was
made.
not pre-filed and it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
On the 2/3, the motion's made by legislator Root, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion? Roll call?
That was on the 2/3, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. And on the resolution itself, the motion's made by legislator Stockin, seconded by legislator Root. Discussion on that? All those in, roll call. Falling apart.
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Okay, resolution is approved. But wait, there's more. So what may go down as the great legal debate of 2023, our county administrator has something she needs to explain to us.
So, good news, we received some grants, and you approved them, and you approved some budget modifications for next year's budget. You did that before you approved the budget. I'm sorry, you approved a few budget modifications on some grants, which is good news, but you did that before you approved your budget. So it was a very long board packet, and I think some things just got out of order, and technically, you should have approved your budget before you modified it by accepting these grant funds. We normally don't have a situation where you would accept the grant funds and modify next year's budget the same time you are actually voting on the budget, but this is what happened this year. For our own peace of mind on the legal and administrative budget team, we would ask that you reaffirm those 3 resolutions where you modified next year's budget to accept those grant funds. I think that just makes it much clearer that you already adopted the budget and now you're modifying it to accept those grant funds. That makes sense to everyone.
So we're going to have to go through those 3 again. Okay. Do you have a question, Mr. Healy? No. Okay. So Brenda's going to pull them. She'll reintroduce him. We'll get a motion, we'll get a second. We'll roll call him and,
I thought we
we
were
done.
actually amending the budget before we adopted it, and that it was part of the,
Just,
Budget
there is,
process.
sometimes what will happen is you guys say you want to make adjustments to the budget and you will amend the tentative budget. In that case, you would have done that before you voted the final. That's normally what happens. This is a different situation where you're actually amending the final budget to accept grant funds. It's not amending the tentative, it's amending the final.
we just do what we're told.
Well, we want all the money we can get, that's all I know.
Right.
Free money. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't want to give them any excuse not to give us that money.
all set?
Ready?
Resolution, intro number 43123, acceptance of public health infrastructure grant and approval of 2024 budget modification for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion's made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yes.
Mr. Stockin,
Yes.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick,
Yes.
Mr. Demick,
Yes.
Mr. Fanton.
Yes.
Somebody keeps kicking me off my mic. Mr. Fanton,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Havy,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricky,
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales.
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
The resolution's approved.
For resolution intro number 43223, acceptance of lead hazard reduction capacity buildings grant and approval of 2024 budget modification for the Department of Health. This resolution is being offered by the Human Services and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval.
Motion made by legislator Burdick, seconded by legislator Ricketts Swales. Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld,
Yeah.
Mr. Stockin, Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Ricky? Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Resolution intro number 44327.
23.
23, thank you. Acceptance and appropriation of Western New York Regional Economic Development Council Empire State Development Strategic Planning and Feasibility Studies Program grant for the Office of Planning, authorizing the chairman of the board to execute said grant agreement. Approval of 2024 budget modification and appropriation of match of $100,000 from ARPA funds. This resolution is being offered by the Planning and Economic Development and Ways and Means Committees and has both committees' approval. It was not pre-filed and it will require a 2/3 vote to consider from the floor.
Motion on the 2/3 made by legislator Fanton, seconded by legislator Hanchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. And on the resolution itself, the motion is made by legislator Root, seconded by legislator Hanchett. Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stacken?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Resolution's approved.
Thank you for taking the time to clarify that. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. How would you prefer the reading of the audit today?
Let's go with collectively and by totals, please.
Collectively and by totals, moved by legislator Stockin. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Healy. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And that's carried.
General government support, $152,709.73. Education, $36,100.03. Public safety, $102,353.84. Health, $79,084.46. Bus transportation, $50,005.68. Economic assistance and opportunity, $1,305,282.38. Culture and recreation, $109,921.14. Home and community services, $474,986.88. General fund total, $2,310,444.14. Payroll and taxes totaled $2,815,057.19. Capital funds totaled $613,739.97. Our other funds totaled $862,947.96 for a grand total of $6,602,189.26.
Is there a motion to approve the audit? Motion is made by legislator Root, seconded by legislator Havy. Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Rumfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Stacken?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Burdick?
Yes.
Mr. Demick?
Yes.
Mr. Fanton? Mrs. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Havy?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky?
Yes.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales?
Yes.
13 ayes, 2 absent.
Audit is approved. Is there anything for the good of the order today? If not, would anyone care to make a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, as how there is no other business to come before the Board of Legislators today, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn made by legislator Rumfeld, seconded by... All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And we're adjourned.